Hi, I'm Erin. I'm here now with Kiki Samko, our amazing assistant director and movement director. Thank you, Kiki, for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. Can you give us a little background on how you started working with movement and how you kind of got into this whole movement game?
Yeah, so I grew up in a really teeny tiny town in Tennessee on top of a mountain, and there were like three things to do. Soccer, which I did not like at all. Swimming, which I did. My mother was a swim coach, so I did a lot of swimming. And ballet. So you were not allowed to start at Miss Phoebe's ballet studio until you were 4. So I had to wait a while, and my sister, who's a few years older, got to start before me, so I would spend a lot of time copying her around the house, dressing up in her tutus and things like that, just dancing around. So I started ballet classes at the age of 4. I really, ballet was very much my first love, and it's how I got into performing. I'm also, as you know, a performer. I'll be appearing in this version of Sensibility as well. And that's how I learned about stage presence and, creating character, and it's really how I got my start in the performing arts was through ballet. And then when I went to college, I really started focusing on theater, and my work, just because of who I am as a dancer, and I was also an athlete growing up, really took a physical path, and that was sort of my discovery that I could be a choreographer or a movement coach. I really, before then, had just thought of myself as a performer. So then I went to New York and studied at the Actors Movement Studio for a little while, learning viewpoints, the Williamson technique, some Laban movement, just these different forms of practicing movement for theater and stage that have sort of all contributed to who I am as a performer and a creator of movement.
What drew you to this show, and why did you take the leap and decide to come on board with us?
Well, you introduced me to this show, and I just fell in love with the script right off the bat. It was so funny and so open to interpretation. But I'm really excited to work on a script that has so many possibilities for ensemble movement. The work that I do mostly as a performer is, as you know, with Imaginary Beasts, and we create a lot as an ensemble together, and I'm excited to sort of apply that kind of work to a more traditional text. That's that really for me is like the script is just a huge canvas of possibility, and there's so much that you can layer on top of the text that's already there. So
do you have any specific inspirations from either in the text that you're really excited about, or from outside that you're kind of going to bring in?
Mike Underhill, who's the director of the show, and also my husband, is he and I have been talking a lot about signature moments in the text. There are a few moments that are just that stand out a lot that we want to isolate in ways using design elements. So creating a cinematic feel in a live space and in a live way. Moments like that, moments like the ball. I'm really, this is a very weird one, but if anyone is familiar with Bob's Burgers, there's an episode where they have to tell Aunt Gail stories, and it's an Austen one of the stories is an Austen inspired. Mm-hmm. And there's this moment where they're all at a ball and they're doing this, it's Tina's story, so they're doing a butt dance. But it's sort of inspired by era, period era dance. But with this weird incorporation of bumping butts. So, and I'm sort of, we're working with the idea of mixing classical music, traditional
chamber
piano
pieces.
With music by people like the Maiden String Quartet or Three Cellos, groups who are using classical instruments to interpret modern songs. And then I've also just been looking at paintings like Rubens, Edmund Blair Layton, to just sort of get a sense of posture, a sense of how women carried themselves, how men carried themselves, how they interacted physically, the distance between them. So working with paintings of the Regency era. I'm also really inspired by the work of Frantic Assembly, the theater company from the UK, who do a lot of physical ensemble created movement. Viewpoint's work, Anne Bogart, City Company, Tina Landau, that's very inspiring to me. The dance company in Pinto and Absalom Pollock, they're an Israeli dance company, and there are some really wonderful images from their pieces. They're a dance company, but they're very much a dance company who tells a story that speak to me of how the gossips might work within the show, coming together to create a really close space or pulling out, but still always being there watching in different ways, and working together as a group to create this sense of constant observation and constant enclosure. In our first movement workshop and in our first couple of physical rehearsals, I really want to focus on building a sense of ensemble and team building. And this is something that I'll be working on throughout the whole process of the show. But I will start all of my rehearsals with a company warm-up. We'll all warm up together. It's going to be very physical. People will get sweaty and they will have to interact with each other and just learn how to be comfortable with one another. At our first movement workshop, we're going to start doing some really basic viewpoints stuff. Viewpoints is it's a technique that is meant to be a way to navigate time and space in theater and to really encourage and help performers and directors and designers to work outside of the box and to make unexpected choices. It's really a way of listening with your whole body to those in the space with you and to the space itself. So we're going to start with some very basic stuff to get that sense and to learn how to listen to each other physically, not just with your ears, not just with your eyes, but with your whole entire body. We'll start by doing some stretches to get ourselves ready. We'll start by doing some running and jumping and really trying to work together to create unison moments so that the focus becomes physical. They're in their body, not in their head. And that allows barriers to come down and people to connect more with one another. So we're going to start with some stretching. We'll do some sun salutations. I'm going to throw in some push-ups and sit-ups. And then we're going to run a lot because the work will be hard, but it's also supposed to be fun, and I hope that it will be. In our first couple of workshops, it's going to be less about creating moments for the show and more about creating an environment in which we'll work and sort of starting to develop a shared vocabulary for the world of the play.
Well, thank you so much, Kiki, for joining us.
Thank you.
We're very excited to see your work. I'm very excited to be very sweaty for 2 months.
Yay!
Yay, it's going to be awesome!
Yay! Thank you. Thank you. self-focus.